joining this morning. Let's start with the prayers. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Before starting the glorifying Bhagavatam, I would like to offer prayers to our acharyas, and also there's a prayer which Sanatana Goswami has, written about Bhagavatam. So glorifying Bhagavatam, the prayers and the prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. So we cannot pray. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddha Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakambidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वशास्त्रार्थ पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फला सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाद्य सर्वभूतैकदृक्प्रदा सर्वभागवता प्राण श्रीमद्भागवता प्रभो कलिद्वन्द्वोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तुते। मदेकबन्धु मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरु मन्महादना मन्निष्ठारक मद्भाग्य मदानन्दा नमोऽस्तुते। असाधु साधु दातारिन् अतीनिचोचकाकरा हारमुं जगदाचिन्म प्रेम हृत्कण्ठयो स्फुरा। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शुश्रूषोऽश्रद्धानस्य वासुदेवा कथारुचि स्यान्महत्सेवया विप्रा पुण्यतीर्थानि सेवना। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदयन्तस्तोह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सदाम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तथा रजस्तमोभावा कामलोपादयश्च चेतयेतेरनावृत्तं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति। एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते। विद्यते हृदयाग्रन्थिश्चित्यन्ते सर्वसंशया क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 Okay, so we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 13. So the sages, the current context here again as the sages asking Sukadeva Goswami about various questions about and in the Kali Yuga, like what all we can do, like and this verse specifically, it talks. For me, it resonated more about like hearing. It was more about like the importance of hearing and how we hear, and all the things was coming up when I was reading this verse. And text 13 is a prelude actually to the questions 4 and 5, which will be there in text 17 and 18. So let's chant together. Chant. तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानाम् अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितम् यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमया च भवाय च तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानाम् अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम्
अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम्
यस्यावतारो भूतानां
यस्यावतारो भूतानां
क्षेमया च भवाय च
क्षेमाय च भवाय च
तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानां अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितम्
अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम्
यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमया च भवाय च
क्षेमाय च भवाय च
तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानां
अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम्
यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमाय च भवाय च
तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानाम् अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम् यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमाय च भवाय च
तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानाम् अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम् यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमाय च भवाय च
तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानाम् अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम्
यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमाय च भवाय च
तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानाम् अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम् यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमाय च भवाय च
तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानाम् अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम्
यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमाय च भवाय च
तन्ना शुश्रूषमाणानाम् अर्हसि अङ्गानुवर्णितुम् यस्यावतारो भूतानां क्षेमाय च भवाय च
Okay. Tad those. Now unto us. Susrushamanana, those who are endeavoring for. Arhasi, ought to do it. Anga, O Sudha Goswami. Anuvarnitum, to explain by following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. Yasya, whose. Avatara, incarnation. Bhutanam, of the living beings. Shemaya, for good. Cha, and Bhavaya, upliftment. Cha, and. Translation. O Sudha Goswami, we are eager to learn about the personality of Godhead and His incarnations. Please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous masters, acharyas, for one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The conditions for hearing the transcendental message of the Absolute Truth are set forth herein. The first condition is that the audience must be very sincere and eager to hear, and the speaker must be in the line of disciplic succession from the recognized Acharya. The transcendental message of the Absolute is not understandable by those who are materially absorbed. Under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, one becomes gradually purified. Therefore, one must be in the chain of disciplic succession and learn the spiritual art of submissive hearing. In the case of Sudha Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya, all these conditions are fulfilled because Srila Sudha Goswami is in the line of Srila Vyasadeva, and the sages of Naimisharanya are all sincere souls who are anxious to learn the truth. Thus, the transcendental topics of Lord Sri Krishna's superhuman activities, his incarnation, his birth, appearance or disappearance, his forms, his names, and so on, are all easily understandable because all requirements are fulfilled. Such discourses help all men on the path of spiritual realization. So, as we have heard previously in the previous verses also, the qualifications of the speaker and qualifications of the hearer. I personally doesn't have any qualifications that is described here, but my eagerness or enthusiasm or whatever, to glorify Bhagavatam has started, from me going through it personally. I can still remember, I have, it was such a hard thing to, get up in the morning and attend Bhagavatam classes, and so many things. But by the mercy of my spiritual mentor, somehow, we started it, and from that time when I started, it has kept on going. It has changed so many things in our family, my life, and for my kids. So Bhagavatam is such a treasure for me, and the prayers of Sanatana Goswami tells, I feel so much that Bhagavatam is like a friend who answers everything for us. Whatever situation we are in, we open Bhagavatam, we get the answer for it. And it's such a churning experience, and it's purifying by itself. And, Bhagavatam is something so valuable for me and my family in the life. So this opportunity to talk to all of you, I would just want to share my inspirations, what I have had with reading this verse. So in this, basically, two concepts, following the footsteps of previous acharyas and hearing. So we have to have, we have heard among all the limbs of devotional service, hearing comes first. In Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, it says, Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Everywhere where we look, hearing is the first thing. Now, the thing is, is it, how do we hear? What are the qualifications of hearing? We said, there are some, that is the audience must be sincere and eager to hear. And how do we cultivate this, sincere and eager? And is it only that we are only hearing the Bhagavatam? Are we hearing something else when we are going throughout the day? I was just wondering, if we all just try to close our eyes for just 2 minutes or a minute, try it. Can we all try to close our eyes and just observe? What all did it go through in your minds? Can anyone share?
Going to space.
Huh?
Going to space.
Going to space. Okay. What else? Did we hear something?
No.
So many things are happening throughout the day, but some places we are feeling in Krishna hearing this. That's what I felt.
Okay. Anyone else? Ah, that's nice. Did we hear anyone talking when we closed our eyes?
I heard somebody walking, I think.
Okay.
I was hearing my boss asking, why did we do this?
You heard your boss asking why did we do? So even though we don't hear from the scriptures or the Bhagavatam or lectures or anything, we have a constant companion who talks to us all the time. Who is that? Mind. It's a non-stop companion for us who talks. So, the part of we have to be sincere and eager to hear, it depends on now, where do we hear from? Because there is a person who talks to us all the time, and, we have to put that effort to not hear the mind if it's talking all kind of things, and put our mind to hearing about Krishna. If we have to, follow the devotional process. And of course, it's not that the mind always, tells only about other things, not about Krishna, but still, it's a constant person who just talks to us. So, so how do we control the mind now? We hear from Bhagavatam and everywhere we hear about, mind is so restless, it's so hard to, control it. It's like a monkey, that's what, it's it doesn't want to stay here or there. It's like we can go anywhere, wherever we want with the mind. So how do we control it now? I have always taken classes for kids. So there was a story that came up, and in the story it said, there was a village man who just takes care of his own things in the village. And his servant was a ghost, somehow. And this servant, he needs to be engaged all the time. Every time he needs to have something to do. If the ghost has threatened the village man, that even though he's a servant, he's threatened his master, telling that if you don't give me anything to do, I'm going to eat you. So the whole energy of the master or the person is going with finding out things for the ghost to do, so that he does not stay still, but he needs something to do. And by constant endeavoring for it, this person really became thin, became so restless, became thinking what to give next. And the ghost is finishing everything, whatever the man is telling. And finally, this person has nothing to do, and he tries to find out a solution from a spiritual person. And the spiritual person gave an idea. And the person said, okay, let me do it. And he told the ghost, bring a big stick or a cane from such and such place, the biggest cane that you can find. It was not hard for the ghost. He found out the cane and brought it. And he said, okay, keep it at the center of the ground, or the center of the area where the house is. And he did that. And he told the ghost, you go up and down this stick until I call you for a service or to do something, you just keep on going up and down. So now the ghost kept on going up and down. And whenever the person wants something, he'll call. Otherwise, the ghost is going up and down. Because that's the thing that he has to do. He doesn't have to stop at any time. So it's something like that, we don't give our mind something to do, it's just going to trigger us, and it's just going to bring everything from past impressions or past experience, whatever happened within the family, kids, everything constantly keeps on going on in our mind. So the mind has to be controlled. Now, how can the mind get controlled? I was reading something regarding the holy name, and a point that struck me was, we have to engage everything as a service to Krishna. And to do that, we have to train our mind. And we have to have faith also in the hearing. Because it's hard to hear from everywhere and think that, okay, that's right and this is right. Because there are so many things, even about Bhagavatam, that everyone, give classes around. And we don't know, how much truth it is. So, hearing from the proper source, it's such an important thing. From the previous acharyas, from a proper source is an important thing. And hearing the right thing, because it can be different things that we hear. Because everything that we hear, it puts an impression in our heart and it takes us away from things. And there are also so many benefits just when we take even Bhagavad Gita. I wanted to read a verse, but there are so many places where in Bhagavad Gita the importance of hearing is described. Some things can few of you just name, like what are the benefits or what are the importance of hearing? What are some things that we get by hearing from the scriptures? What are heart gets purified, yes. What else?
We get the proper vision to see things as
We get the proper vision to see, yeah.
And we see the characters of the devotees.
We can
and the situations in which they fall
Yeah.
sometimes, and how they are taken care of when they are.
Yeah, we can see the different characters of the devotees and how they are taken care and what are the situations they have gone. Because so many stories in Bhagavatam, it's our own stories too, like we also go through so many things. And some things that I have, which I got from the Bhagavatam which I wrote down was like, it helps us to become fearless. Hearing helps us to become fearless. It helps us to be free from lamentation. It helps us to be tolerant and undisturbed. It helps us to transcend the three modes. It helps us to be peaceful and happy. It helps us to attain love for Krishna, cross the ocean of material miseries, see all beings equally, check the force of anger, which is something that I personally have so much, but it helps us to check the force of anger, and it unites us intimately with Krishna. It helps us to remember Krishna, and it also helps us to attain great faith in Krishna. These are all, in Bhagavatam, different slokas and verses. But to reach there, we do have to endure. Like in this verse, it says the meaning of Sususha Mananam, those who are endeavoring for. We do have to endeavor for it. It's because it's not easy, the way we have grown up and the way things which we have heard, there are so many things that blocks us from, putting the faith in the hearing. And also in this verse, there are some qualities that of hearing is described. Some of the qualities are like we have to have a proper attitude when we are hearing. There should be attention, should be humility, sincerity, seriousness, curiosity, eagerness, patience, gratitude, thoughtfulness, respect, and great and abiding faith, and unalloyed love for Krishna and a service attitude. So many things are there, which we have to develop so that we can hear properly. Now everything together we may not have it, we may not get it, by Krishna's mercy we may have everything, or maybe just one thing. But even there's just one thing. I was reading Vishaka Mataji's one book, and she was telling that, when she heard that hearing is the most important thing, she was wondering, okay, I have heard all through my life, I have done this, but, what do I do? But she was able to cross that and hear to Prabhupada because of just one quality of eagerness. She was so much eager to hear. That helped her to develop so many qualities. And
Which Mataji you were talking about in that name too?
Vishaka Mataji. And the same thing, when I look for, behind, for me, hearing Bhagavatam, it was just because of my, my enthusiasm to just hear from my spiritual mentor. It has changed so much for me. And I definitely believe and I have full faith in Bhagavatam that it changes, it can help change everything in all of our life. And so these are the qualities that we have to develop, and it can definitely develop by hearing Bhagavatam and reading Bhagavatam. And one best, the thing to hear and to have this is also association of similar devotees, association of people who have similar things. So at the same time, so we may wonder, okay, in a 24-hour day, most of the time goes for us in working, and only 1 or 2 hours, we may be able to spend with Bhagavatam or with devotees and things. So how is that, possible even to think that, to spend more of our time with, devotee association? So devotee association for me, it also doesn't mean just being with devotees, just taking a book or a verse and reading. We are associating with the devotees right now too. We have the sages here from the Naimisharanya. All the sages are assembled there. And wherever Bhagavatam is spoken, we have heard, all the demigods are present there. We have heard, Hanuman, Hanuman has got a blessing. Wherever Ramayana is recited, he comes there. He always hears that. So all the devotees are present, which, we are not able to see also when we start reading Bhagavatam, or when we are hearing Bhagavatam, or anything, scriptural wise or anything, it's there. So, we are able to associate with devotees in that way. It's just that the cultivation, we have to endeavor, the desire to spend that time, to take that time, even if it is an hour, if it is a 15-minute, whatever. And slowly, with that desire, Krishna will help us go forward and put that shelter in Bhagavad. And, so what do we hear? So we have so many things to hear from Bhagavatam, right? We hear about Krishna's pastimes, we hear about Mataji said, devotees' stories, whatever they went through. So many things we are able to hear. His names, qualities, fame, everything we are able to hear. And so by hearing, what happens is, like Prabhu said, our heart starts get purified. Because at a point, we all will start thinking, I started thinking, okay, I'm hearing so much. What is it? We start contemplating on ourselves, do I have it? What do I do? Here, right now, it's said that there is a qualification for a speaker and qualification for listener. I don't feel qualified to sit here and talk this, but but there is something that definitely is purifying for me, So there are purification that happens inside us, in some way or the other, the purification keeps happening. And that is for our benefit to come closer to Krishna. And by hearing and constant hearing, just taking that time, it helps. And like I said, devotee association also helps. We get absorbed in that. And with all this said, still we feel that, what is something practical that I can do? If we had to hear, it's an endeavor, right? If we have to train the mind, everything is there. This we keep on hearing all the time. We have to hear, we have to put our effort in doing it, we have to train our mind, but what is something simple that we can do? So everything ends up to one concept for me, or one point for me is if we know who we are and what is our relationship with Krishna, it becomes easy for us to bring our mind back to where the real part is. So we all know we are a spiritual soul, but we are covered because of the modes of natures, and because of that conditioning nature, we are just covered. Okay, so now shall we wait till all the conditioning goes? Will that work? It won't work, because it has so many things, and we can't wait till each thing to go off and then think that, okay, I will hear, properly, I will get purified, and after that I'll start hearing, or I will start doing this. We can't, we just take a kid, if a kid has to write an essay, the kid cannot wait till the moment that you get a question paper in your hand and you're asking the kid to write, okay, write the essay. The kids can't do it. We can't do it. If we have to write, I can think of, if we learn Bhakti Shastri and we are given a paper to write, okay, write the Bhakti Shastri exams. Okay, you know what? I've done that, when I was small and it's hard. So we have to have that training, we have to train means like we have to keep slowly, like, we have to fix our mind and mold our mind in such a way. So something that I read in one of the, chanting books was that a nice contemplation, like after we get up, saying that, or even we can write down and put on the, wherever we are walking around or something, wherever it is, and Krishna, I am your servant and you are my master. I have been like so many years or lifetimes been in this conditioned nature, but I am taking this opportunity today to surrender to you completely. And I want to serve you with my body, mind, and words. Please help me to engage me in your service. When I read it, it was like really like something powerful. Like, we read it all the time. But if I have to just, think on it and do it, I need frequent reminders. And I cannot ask someone to keep on reminding me all the time that, okay, you're the spirit soul, you have to go through this, you have to do this. Because it's like we are still depending on someone else. Like, we do need, like, our spiritual mentor and spiritual master and every devotees in our life, and I'm so grateful for them in my life. But something from my part, at some point, I have to do. So this was such a nice prayer, like, just to keep it in front of me wherever we go, whatever service I'm doing, before cooking, before starting work, before taking a project, everything. So in that way, what we are doing is also like focusing the mind back. Okay, I'm a spirit soul. I am a servant of Krishna and He is my master. So, then keeping on doing it does have an effect. Like, even for studying slokas, or even studying just basic, like, whatever we are doing, engineering or, medicine, like, in the medical field or anything, like, to know about a certain thing, we have to keep on reading about it. And once we read it, it just automatically goes inside, it just stays there. And one thing that happens is, because we have this constant person who talks to us throughout the day, we are keeping on telling this to the mind automatically starts doing it. So when we do it, we can keep on doing it, it just keeps coming to us. Of course, there is a chance that we just don't listen and, we just go forward. But still, at some point when we are doing it, Krishna sees our desire and our endeavor and our sincerity, and He makes sure that, it really helps us. And that's a wonderful thing, like, because Krishna is like so loving, He just wants only our love, and our ultimate goal is to love Him. So, and the whole thing in the whole devotional process is that at the end of our life, we have to remember something about Krishna, so that, He helps us at that time, because it's all for that moment of death. If you're going to think whatever, that is what is going to give us another life, or go back to Krishna, or whatever it is. So that, for that moment is what we are just training our mind and, hearing all those things and churning all the things and, so many things, But that, to train that, this was like a nice prayer for me, and nice, like, nice words, like, to just keep on practicing. Like, do it in the morning, do it in the afternoon, do it in the evening, or before cooking, before studying, before working, anytime, and even when we are going to sleep. Being grateful, thanking for that whole day, whatever happened, and also saying the same thing, Krishna, I am your servant, and you are my master. It brings so much of humility inside. Like, whatever ego goes on in the head, we can't do nothing with it. It's ultimately like it's just Him. Yeah. So it's like not so much importance in this, like, hearing concept. And I also wanted, like, everyone to just think on one question. I don't want you all to share, but it's just for our personal thing. Like, you guys can write or you can just think, but whatever is going to help. The question is, just reflect on yourself today. Like, my present relationship with Krishna. What is my present relationship with Krishna? And how do I want to improve it? You can take 2 minutes, 3 minutes if you want to write down, or just think on it. Something that we can contemplate throughout the week or every day, whatever. What is my present relationship with Krishna right now? And how do I wish to improve it? Are we good? Because I see there's someone looking right. So, if you have written it down, just keep reading it, or if you have not written, just keep on thinking on it. It's such a nice thing to just keep on remembering this thing, because we have to go to Krishna, we have to hear it, remember Him. So we need something really to contemplate on, to how to do it. And so, like I said, just before ending, I just want to read this verse from Bhagavad Gita, the 13th chapter of 26th verse. It says, again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. And Prabhupada has nicely written in the purport, this verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society, there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress, especially according to Lord Chaitanya. If he hears the transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is stated therefore that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age, no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization, and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home. And so much faith built in. We don't have to know so many things. We just have to hear. And hearing from the proper source and just following whatever we are hearing. At least trying. It's just the endeavor part. At least trying, because we may not be, like a pure devotee platform or anything, and not like sometimes we hear we cannot be like Prahlad, but at least a small endeavor. It will take a long way for us, and it's on Krishna, when he says it, he has he has the right to do whatever it is, he's merciful. Who knows, maybe from tomorrow we'll start reading all the time, who knows, but it's just Krishna, it's his magic. It's just, we just have to somehow get purified, some way or another. There's no, way to jump it, but we just have to get purified. So, it's just Krishna. Thank you so much, devotees, whatever, I have spoken, I just taken an attempt to glorify the hearing process and Bhagavatam from my limited knowledge. And if I have said anything right, it just goes to my mentor and to my Guru Maharaj. If anything else, I've talked and it's wrong, it's just my own faults. But please comment and please share if something, we have caught from this, what we have read.
Mataji, it is very interesting. You how to improve your hearing process and what is the significance of it. You covered very nicely, and your story was very good. How this stupid mind takes us always on. And we have to give it some good work to do that. And how engaging that mind constantly in Krishna's service. That we come to the point that after years and years, I can know that my mind has listened. I cannot say that it did not, so my mind has listened a lot. And the exercise you gave is very good. How do you see your present relationship with Krishna? How to improve it? That's every day's work actually. How can I do this tomorrow in a more satisfying way? It is extremely nice and very fine to be in your class. Thank you.
Thank you.
want to share with others. Mataji was very reluctant to give a lecture today. But when I came and I'm seeing she shared very nicely and on a fundamental topic, I'm very inspired. And I'm looking forward for many more lectures from her. Because when we started this initiative, we were very reluctant and wondering how can we get the speakers. But as day passes, we are wonderfully seeing so many devotees who doesn't speak anything, but when they are sharing, the depth of their realizations are so amazing. So now I'm confident that we'll be planning that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I tried my best to just be out of this, but Krishna Prabhu didn't let me do it. So anyway, I think his prayers are there, so I could do something. I don't know, but it's just glorifying Bhagavatam. It's just Bhagavatam. Maybe everyone can just share, we have 5 minutes, whatever something that you would want to apply. Because, somehow, it's just how I am trained, and also, because I do homeschooling with my kids, and, just read with them, it's for them, I keep asking, what is one thing that you want to think throughout the day? Because, again, it's just training the mind. Our mind will be keeping on telling something. So, what is one thing, that we want to think throughout the day today? Maybe everyone can share.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Especially the way you have made us to contemplate and look within, it's very helpful. One particular thing I was really inspired, the whole entire thing is nice. But one thing, as you were saying, how to begin the day and end the day, consciously thinking and taking that within, Shams, your servant, and your master. Even though we're here and it's there in the back of my mind, it's kind of a mechanical platform. But I was thinking, at least while I'm in front of the altar, doing some offering or arati, cultivating that consciousness and being present with that feeling. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the nice lecture. And I was just thinking this same point what Shambhakali Mata said, the training the mind, and from the story that what you gave initially, I think that you to the kids, for the ghost jumping back and forth of that. So just keep that there, and we need to keep train our mind. In the way that you put, to train the mind, because it's kind of restless all the time, you want to do something. If you keep training, it automatically gets adjusted to that thought process. And just to, as we know that, yes, Krishna we have so many times, but it doesn't stick to the mind, it goes soft and something really happens, and we are the masters. So, right? We keep continuously training by doing that and writing it, and maybe it will really help. So I was just thinking, when you give that 2 minutes exercise at the end, so I was just thinking, how does that really work? What is my relationship today and how can I improve? And that could be a good day to start.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful enlightening talk actually. I have been trying to improve my hearing program, and this lecture is something like a booster. Although hearing doesn't go so regularly for me, so I would like to try to keep it as a conscious priority. I hear every day and make some take-home point from that. Try to concentrate on it. Thank you.
Something like, I also have heard my, always during my initial times, which helped also is some struggle that I'm having, waking up in the morning, chanting in the morning, hearing regularly, having someone of the similar struggle and just, teaming up with them and just do it. I remember still, so many of my peers, we have just called each other and, if it's 4:30, 4 o'clock or whatever, called and just started chanting and even reading, having the struggle of reading regularly, we have, we have done, reading together, just half an hour, But it's just a matter of, for some time, and that interest just boosts us. But having at least one devotee in our life, who we can share and just, talk or, share our struggles and keep doing it and helping each other, we become so much responsible also. Because it's just our nature, because of this conditioning, it's just our nature. I myself have struggled still, but somehow or other, Krishna figured that it won't work alone for me, so, he has given me 2 kids, you have to engage. What else than Bhagavad to engage them, so we just read, and my whole thing with reading happens with them. We just read with them and just do activities or do whatever it is and talk about it and share about it, it just goes in different levels. But it's just Krishna's way, who knows in which way or where, Krishna arranges something, but so it's just wonderful. We just, having someone helps so much also. So it's just what I see for my life also, Prabhu. I don't know whether
you want me to speak. But in voice is not good. When you ask what are you going to think all day, I'm thinking, how can I serve in the evening Sunday feast?
It's a nice start for you.
Different voice. That's what I was thinking. Because covering of hearing is a very powerful topic. It's very inspiring how you lay down the steps of practicing hearing. You look at the picture of Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Whenever I see that picture, I get faith in hearing. Because he did not do anything except hearing for 7 days and he went back to Godhead. Yeah. And he was able to instruct her mother also after that. So when I see that picture, hearing comes. My hearing is not great. It's common for everybody. They are not perfect. But one thing my realization is hearing regularly for particular voice, you get rati to that attachment. What I heard is that is very important. It's not that you hear from every source. It's very easy in this world, especially kids, adults also. So we have to get rati to one kind of a voice that could be your spiritual master. It should be your spiritual master. And Prabhupada, basically. That will take you back to Godhead. Because at the time of dying, Prabhupada said every sense will stop working, except your ears. Yeah. So that is why when people are dying, we go and chant, because they can hear that. But every sense will stop working. So hearing is very good. So when you have rati to that voice, Prabhupada chanting, whatever that is, cultivating that is very important. So hearing is the only way in Kali Yuga especially gives you next steps. Smaranam Kirtana. That's what I was thinking.
Thank you so much for
Thank you very much.
The initial times I used to think, not really initially, always, this is the only organ that is going to work, And when you are in coma or whatever stage, that's the only thing, hope so that, that you just get surrounded by devotees at that time, water. It's like such a thing, like, who knows what all people is going to come and tell you, so many things. Oh my God, Krishna, like, let me just hear only, like, oh my God, it's like something, I just keep on reading sometimes, like, okay, but Krishna will help, that's the faith, because we can only do something, the rest is up to Krishna.
Thank you very much for the class today. Sorry, I was late, but your Prabhu, your kids inspire me a lot. I know I'm not there, but whenever I think about reading with kids, I think about you. I want to, I have started little bit, not regularly with Priyanka, because she took the Bhagavatam and all. But with reading also was challenging for me a lot, because 8 years is a big gap, but they don't read the same thing. It's hard to spend that time. But maybe I can take your guidance on how to read Bhagavatam with Priyanka. The concept is so hard that they don't get it sometimes. Maybe you can give me some tips later. I can help with you. Thank you very much for your association and your daughters and kids association. It's very inspiring.
For us, whatever it is, it's just my spiritual mentor and spiritual master. Nothing else, like, I can tell about our family and our life. It's just them. It's just their blessings and their prayers. Nothing else.
Very good. Thanks,
Thank you so much for the class, and especially for the practical tips that you gave. Because I do try to, whenever I have time, I do try to listen. And you've shared some nice YouTube as well as Vishaka Mataji's thing. So, but then even while listening, it seems like the mind always wanders around. And so, thinking about, like you said, that I'm your servant, help me through this. You're my master, help me to find ways to serve you. So I think that's a great thought to bring me back, like you mentioned. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to say that sentence one more time, because it's a nice way, like how Prabhu, like I've read it from Sachinanda Maharaj, actually Jabba, like in a book. I am an eternal servant of Krishna. Krishna is my eternal and infinite master. Today I have a chance to serve Krishna. Today I will be present in our relationship. Please engage me in your service. So you're just reinforcing the mind. And that's all. I'm 5 minutes ahead. But thank you so much again, everyone, for this opportunity. And it was not a class, but I was just trying from my side a little bit to glorify.